problems are okay. I welcome problems because I'm like, okay, if we identified that problem, that means there's something we can fix.
Absolutely.
And so that's what excited me. And I think that's how we built our company culture and our leadership team. So.
Okay, so welcome to Restaurantology, the journey from 2 to 20. This is our second season, so this is kind of exciting, right? I stopped for a while, and you even said, Amir, that you were like, wait a second, where's more content?
No, I was a fan of the podcast,
and then
I would listen to all of them, and I was like, wait, when's the next one coming out? I didn't know that it was going to be me on the next one.
Yeah, you're the next one.
That's awesome.
We were actually waiting for that. We were waiting for the next one first. But no, so Restaurantology, let me tell you real quick the story of Restaurantology before we get into what our episode is today. The Restaurantology was something we started 5 years ago. And it was because there was several founders that would come to us, Amir, and they would say, hey, we're probably not at the right stage for Savory to invest right now, but could you help us with some advice on how to raise funding or who should we talk to for growth? And we wanted to help everybody. And it's just hard to find time to want to help everybody. You probably do it the same in the DMV, is you want to help all entrepreneurs you can. And I said, well, what if we did something where we could just do it once a year, where we get as many people who want to come to an event, we'll put it on, we'll pay for it, and we'll just share all of the tips and tricks that we're doing, things that we're learning, things we're failing at, things that we have to figure out. And then we as operators can just rap back and forth about what's working, what's not. And I thought there's nothing like that in the industry, right? Like you go to all these conferences and you leave and you're like, met some good people. I don't really know what I just took from that to go apply to my business. Yeah. And so that's why we started Restaurantology. First year was like a 210 person audience. And then the second year we did it was COVID. We did it streaming media through QSR. Sam Okas is the one that did it with us. Mm-hmm. And then the following year we did it. It was like 350 people. Fast forward last year, you were there. It was like 650 people in the Hill Center Theater. It was amazing.
Yeah. Last year. And the first one I came to was the year before that. And yeah, it's just a great experience. Both times. And like you said, just learning so many tips and tricks. And, at that time for me, the first time I came out, I hadn't started our process of going out to raise money yet. So, man, that was a huge education for me. You guys gave out this scorecard, I remember.
Yep, the scorecard.
6 things on it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go write down each one of those 6 things from our business to this scorecard.
And did it help you? It kind of probably gave you some guardrails of like, this is what I got to be the hottest girl on the dance floor, right?
It helped me a lot. And also, I don't know if you remember this. I stopped you in the hallway because you were so busy. Everyone's like,
I'm never too busy.
Well, everyone was
I was busy.
Everyone wanted your time, right?
Yeah.
At Restaurantology. And I hadn't met you in person yet. We just, I think, maybe emailed or something like that. But I knew who you were, and so I had the scorecard, and I was like, okay, Restaurantology's ending. I haven't gotten a second with Andrew yet. I'm just gonna stop him as he's walking in the middle of the hall, and I went up to you and I just introduced myself, and I listed off our KPIs from the scorecard.
I actually remember that
because I'm like, we crush all these KPIs.
Like, just so you know, we're crushing it. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. So anyway, that was our first interaction, but that scorecard is what helped me. I'm like, okay, this is what people are interested in, want, the information they want to see.
Specifics, right?
So
how do I measure up?
I literally, like, we were developing our deck to go out and pitch, right? And I use that scorecard for like, okay, this is part of our financial section. Let's get those 6 things in there, and show our numbers based on that.
And it worked, didn't it? Oh, wait a second, we did a deal.
It worked. We did a deal, and no, but it's like just a great education, I think, for anybody out there, whether you're going out to raise money or just figuring out how to run your business.
Yeah, I was going to say that when we did those the last several years, people said, it's just not enough. Like, can you do it more? I'm like, listen, I'm not a professional conference thrower. Like, we do it just because we want to give back. It's our way of kind of a rising tide lifts all boats, right? And we would do them more often if we could. We just are busy. We're operators, right? So you just don't have time. So I thought, well, we could do a podcast. And our podcast, just, it's not for making money. It's not to get sponsors. I don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about is having people understand from your perspective what you did to get to the point where you started a company, you got it big enough to where you had a great, great team built around you. And then you were able to go out to market, get interested parties all around the table, interested in your brand. And then you've done a transaction now. And what does it feel like to go through that process? And then what does it feel like now as a newly minted millionaire, which you are? And it's okay to say that. I think that sometimes people go, oh, so I wonder how much money he made or whatever. You made millions of dollars and you earned that because it wasn't an overnight success. it was an 18-year success, right? Like
yeah.
It's overnight 18 years.
Yeah. That's what, as you were saying that, well, actually 20 years.
20 years.
When I started my first
20
juice bar,
years.
who's counting though? But yeah, I mean, when you're talking about that, like, yeah, you build the business, you build a team around you, you go out there and raise money.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do. Pump it off, sell it off to an investor.
That's sometimes a 20-year process, right? Yeah. So it's, I haven't met anyone yet who's truly had overnight success, right? It always comes with a story of just a lot of determination, grit, hard work. I tell entrepreneurs all the time, like, if you're not willing to put in the hard work, if you're not willing to pivot, adapt, if you're going to give up, if you're willing to not give up, you're willing to put in the hard work, you're willing to wake up every day and find solutions for problems in your business, because problems are okay. I welcome problems because I'm like, okay, if we identified that problem, that means there's something we can fix.
Absolutely.
And so that's what excited me. And I think that's how we built our company culture and our leadership team. So
yeah, I like how you said that though. It's like, I welcome problems. Everybody always asks us, how did you guys do during COVID, during the epidemic? I'm like, we crushed it. We absolutely throttled it during that time. And why? We welcomed the challenges every day, every hour, because it changed every hour.
Yeah.
And we pivoted every single day to figure out, how do we get people to eat? How do we stay healthy? We got to keep our employees working. We kind of had a mantra around that. And if we just pivoted every day, we galvanized as a team and with our guests probably more than most brands did, because most brands just laid down and died. I know you guys didn't, because that's what impressed me. But let's go backwards for just a moment real quick, because I think that everybody that listens to Founding Story, which is usually the most popular on Restaurantology, even at the conference, people just want to hear from other founders. Mm-hmm. I'm a founder of 26 years. The only thing I've ever done since I was 23 years old is found companies from nothing, go through all of the painstaking hours and days and roller coaster of building a business to ultimately, hopefully, a good sale. And I've had the good fortune of going through several of those. But for you, you've had one roller coaster that has just been a constant chug up that hill. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it where you say, okay, I want to start a business. When was that? You said 20 years ago, but where were you? What were you doing in your life? And what made you want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So like I said, the story does go back 20 years to when I started my first business. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My dad was he was a business professor. He taught business and marketing, but then started his own businesses. He got into the video rental business in the 80s and 90s.
Oh my gosh, such a great business!
It was a great business.
I worked at a rental store. I told you that.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
I remember.
I remember those days.
There's a lot we found out that we had in common, and when you were talking about how you guys were able to pivot and find solutions through COVID.
Yeah.
Same thing. And I think that's what drew us to you guys, was we think about the world and the
Very
world
similar.
of business the same way.
And our life started in video rentals.
We started where there was a lot of things. We're like, yeah, we like this. We use a lot of we use Voxer, We like Beastie Boys.
Yes, we do. I actually have a Beastie Boys book on my coffee table in my office. It's not very professional, I don't think, but when people come in, they're like, oh, the Beastie Boys. I'm like, it's my favorite band. So.
Yeah. But having things in common and seeing the world the same way with whoever you're partnering with, I think is very important. But anyway, so grew up in video store business. I worked at my dad's video store. My friends worked there. It was a lot of fun, but I didn't own the business. My dad did. But I learned a lot. And one of the things I thought I learned, to be honest with you, was when I get out of college, I don't want to have my own business, because I saw my dad when he was a professor, and he would have summers off and we'd go on vacation. And when he started his business, there was no summer vacations. He was working all the time. And I was like, I don't want that. I want to have a corporate job where I know I'm going to have paid vacations and I'm going to, have my 401k.
You want the security blanket, a JOB.
That's what I thought I wanted, right? I went to school at Virginia Tech and got my degree in marketing and graphic design, got a good job in the DC Tyson's Corner area with a big corporation, and thought things were great, got a good salary. And then about 6 months in, I just realized that I couldn't do that the rest of my life. I was bored.
Well, that fast, 6 months.
Well, a lot of people would think I was crazy, right? Because it was pretty cushy, right? You go in, probably do like 2 hours of work. You take a long lunch, you come back and you just, BS and try to waste time till the clock turns 5 and then you leave.
So you weren't made for that. You wanted to do something different.
I couldn't sit in a cube every day and do that. And what I found is like, I would rather be busy than bored. And that's what I found out that my dad wanted, and why he wasn't so crazy for what he was doing, because he was passionate about what he was doing. It's what got him out of bed every morning. It's what kept him up at night thinking. And I think to never be bored is a blessing, right? And so
I love that statement, actually.
Since the day that I started my business, I've never been bored, and it's just been so exciting and thrilling. So I quit my I got married in 2004. The same year I got married, I quit my job and started a juice bar. So here's my wife, like, jeez, what's going on here?
The stable dude, and now he's an entrepreneur.
What's juice,
chasing dreams?
What's Juice Boy doing over here?
Juice Boy?
Yeah, like so thank goodness, she had a job as a school counselor, and that helped us like kind of survive that time. But we started.
Can I just stop you right there?
Yeah.
It's interesting that how many entrepreneurs, even myself and Shauna, how many entrepreneurs start something, and we always say, whether it's a husband or a wife, they have the job, they're the stable ones. The entrepreneurs get to go and like pursue their dream.
Yeah.
And without a spouse that's helping you, it's almost impossible, right? Like I would give so much credit to your beautiful wife for sticking with you in those early years.
Yeah, that's how we had healthcare.
That's how you have it.
Yeah.
It's how you can do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, but and also to her credit, she trusted me and let me do my thing.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And even though as crazy as it sounded, so quit my job, and I had an opportunity to open a juice bar on campus at GW University in the gym on campus. So it wasn't called South Block. It was called Campus Fresh.
Makes sense.
My first idea was I was going to open these juice bars on campuses, right?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. But then I realized how lucky I was to get that spot, because, most campus dining is controlled by, Airmark, Sodexo, campus dining programs. But they're
licensed.
This was one that was a bagel shop, a national bagel shop that closed, and they didn't want it. So it was a gray area. And I had a friend that worked in she was actually an intern in the athletic department.
Oh, okay.
I said, hey, you think they'd want to put a juice bar there where the bagel shop was? And she asked.
And they said yes.
And they said yes. And somehow they let this guy who's never owned or operated a juice bar before build a juice bar, and
that makes total sense. There's no risk there.
So we had a 1-bedroom condo. I took out a $30,000 line of credit. I built the counters myself. And I always tell people that GW is where I got my PhD in business.
Yes, you did.
Because that's where I learned, how to, luckily I kind of found out I had this like ability to create smoothie recipes. I'm not good at cooking. Like, you don't want me to be at a stove or anything like that, but blenders, I'm good.
Okay. You can blend the food. You just can't cook it.
I can blend it. And a lot of the recipes I would just come up with like in my mind, like as I'm like laying in bed going to sleep, and then I'd come in the morning, throw it in a blender, and usually it would taste pretty good. So kind of worked out the menu and the concept at GW, and the students were like so forgiving, as you're figuring things out. So it was a great place to learn. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned there, though, was like, I went to school at Virginia Tech. Businesses at Virginia Tech are so involved in the community and the student life.
Really? I didn't know that.
And I noticed I was kind of lacking at GW. So I wanted to make sure we were very involved with the community and the student life and student organizations. So we got very involved. We did a lot of student fundraisers and things like that, and got involved in the community. And what I started to realize was that even though we were on the gym on the second floor of this building with no exterior signage, because the zoning wouldn't let us put any signage outside the building, was that people were finding us and discovering us.
That's crazy.
Because they had heard we were in there.
It sounds like it shouldn't even work.
It shouldn't have worked.
No.
And in fact, when I was building the counters myself, a student walked by and was like, "Oh, this is never going to work. No one ever comes up on the second floor of the gym."
Then you were like, "Crap, I just took a $30,000 loan."
He actually said that to me. Yeah. And actually, when I started my first South Block, somebody commented on a publication article that we were going to fail as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually
Love
good.
the doubters.
The doubters, like
guys.
That's what fuels you, right?
Yeah.
We started getting other people that were not students coming in as well, that just worked in the law offices, the GW hospital, State Department, the businesses around the area that were coming in. And if you wanted to come to Campus Fresh, you had to leave an ID at the front desk.
That's crazy.
If you weren't a student, just to get past the security gate to come in and buy a smoothie, right? But that was happening. So what I realized was that if you have a great product, that's
number one.
That's kind of a
right?
given. You have to have a great product, but it can't stop there, right? There's a lot of great products out there that go nowhere if you don't have a great culture behind your business.
For sure.
So that's the lesson that I took. The biggest lesson I took from me was when you open a business, you got to get behind the community and get involved in your community. So that's actually, fast forward to 2011 when I had the opportunity to open my first South Block in Clarendon in Arlington in a Virginia neighborhood. There was a new project going up, 2 big towers, and everything was leased up except for this one space on the back end of the building, 700 square foot with a huge column down the middle that nobody wanted. And here I am, still a young entrepreneur that never did a business outside of the GW gym. That's like, I'll take it, But the reason why I took it was because I knew that if I opened there and got involved in the community, that people would find us back there. And so when I say back there, we're back on the South Block of the building. So that's where the name came from.
Love it.
So the name South Block came from the being on the South Block of that building that nobody wanted. And the mission behind the company was whatever block we open in, we're going to go in there and make a difference in that community. We're going to do whatever we can to make it a little bit more awesome than the way we found it, right?
And I'm glad that you weren't on the North Block of the building because that sounds dumb.
It's not as
South
cool of a
Block
name.
is cool.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so it worked out for the
worked out nice.
It worked out.
I didn't know what I was going to name it literally until I went to sign the lease. I was throwing around all these like dumb names like Arlington Smoothie and things like that. And I'm like, well, I don't want to name it on what the product is. I want to name it on what our culture is, right?
It was so smart.
And so I saw on the lease and it said 700 square feet in the South Block Tower. I'm like, South Block, that sounds cool. And there's meaning behind that. So that's, really, really like a few locations, the next few locations we opened after that kind of were the same type of location where they were kind of like off the main street, hard to find. But for a young entrepreneur, you're scrappy and what I found is like during that time, 2011, there was Instagram started coming and Yelp and Google Maps and all that. It didn't matter as much if you were on the corner of Main and Main.
Yep.
If you had an awesome product and you had a story
They'll
to
find
tell,
you.
people will find you, word of mouth. And that kind of made it cooler too, that people were talking about it and showing you where it was.
Well, I think that statement really that, ignorance is bliss. When you're an entrepreneur and you're young, it really is blissful. You're like, I'm just excited to have a spot. Like, if you were to go talk to some real estate mogul at some big name brand, company that's growing, they'd be like, oh, you'd never want to go on the South Block of that building.
Oh, everyone would have told you not to do it.
Yeah, and it also helps remind me of one of my favorite statements from Epictetus, an ancient philosopher. I'm not a huge quote guy, but this quote always resonated with me. But he says, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Mm-hmm. And so I think that people always, for me too, I've always had doubters or people that hate on you because they're like, oh, they're not going to succeed or he'll probably fail or whatever. It does. It kind of burns in you and you're like, okay, I'm going to show you that I can make this work. And it does take that as an entrepreneur to say, I'm going to make it work no matter what it takes.
I didn't see any other option.
Yeah, no, you don't have any other option.
We have to make this work.
Yeah.
And there was, of course, lots of times where I felt like maybe it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of stress and pressure. But we have to make it work. So you just have to grind it and figure out a way.
And I would tell you too that the name, so I have to tell you, we've looked at, Savory has looked at the fun side, about 1,700 brands at this point. Like we've looked at a lot of brands. Mm-hmm. And there's just something about brands where you walk out of them and you're a consumer too. Everybody is listening to this. We're consumers, even if we're in the industry. We go and eat places and our patrons as well and support our friends. But you go in and you come out and there's times where you leave and you're like, man, there's something there. Like it's got this it factor.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know how to explain it to people when they say, well, how do you know what to buy? I'm like, well, let me tell you about yours specifically. Okay. And I'm going to tell the listeners so they understand that there was this doubt in my mind. And I think I told you this too.
Yeah. I knew there was doubt.
Yeah. And I went out with Taylor DeHart, one of our lead principals and on our investment team. And he's like, I think you got to come out. You're going to love Amir. You're going to love this brand. I'm like, well, I love the name, but I just don't know about the segment and everything else. I think they all taste the same. So you kind of have that negative.
Yeah.
Boy, I went out there and not only did you nail it on the brand, but the it factor of the feeling you get when you're in there, the way that you're treated. And then I had the product. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, the product is exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
And when people say, well, how can it be better? I don't know what Amir's doing, but it's better than anybody out there. And that's why when I looked at what you were doing from, an economics level on the store level, you're leading the pack in the whole industry by 2 times, like your sales, and your margins are 2 times their margin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how he's doing that, because it's an exceptional product. It has the it factor. They care about the people. You can feel the community involvement. And I'm telling you, man, your name, South Block, just feels like it's not something very specific. It feels like a community.
Yeah.
And so I love it. You nailed it on that. And that's why we're so honored to be part of it.
That's what we've been trying to build, is that community. And
you're still trying after 20 years? Good dream. I love it. Like, we're still trying.
We've built the community, but I credit our community for building our block. I have this phrase called one block, and it's really the community that builds your business. And we're excited about the new blocks we're going to open on, the new communities.
I love that you call them new blocks too, man.
New blocks.
It's not like new shops or new restaurants. It's new blocks.
Yeah.
So cool.
The jobs we're going to create and the opportunities we're really excited about. So
if you look past over the last 20 years, though, obviously some roller coasters. We had, market pressures when it was a cycle. We had an epidemic. You have a team that's been around you for a long time. And I think I would probably venture to say that your team is really important to you, probably more so than even the success of the business and how much money you guys are making per block. What would you say over the last 20 years are the things you look back at and say, I so appreciate this the most, or the top couple?
There's so many things, but the team, like you said, that's been a big part of it. And I would say too, like, if you're an entrepreneur out there growing a business, like, don't beat yourself up if you haven't figured out what your culture is, what your mission is. When I first started my business, it was very much just for me and my family. And then as I started growing it, I started realizing that I can't do it all myself. It needs to be about something bigger, and I need to bring other people into this dream. I always tell people, you have to include other people into your dream. If you want to succeed, you can't make it all about yourself, right?
And when you say that, though, Amir, do you say include them in your dream? Do you mean by letting them be part of the equity structure, the capital structure? They feel like they're part of it? Like, did you share some of your equity?
It wasn't equity, but I gave, I did think about things like, what are things that motivate me? Because I can't go anywhere, right? Whether I like it or not. Like, it's my business, right?
Yeah.
Your employees have a choice, right?
Sure they do.
And so you can't take that for granted. So why would I expect them to want to work at South Block and be part of my team if they didn't have some of the things that benefited me as a founder and owner? So I started thinking about things like, well, first of all, I got to make it like a great environment for them to want to be at, right? I got to build the company with people that get excited about mission and vision and community the same way I did, so that they're excited and passionate about that. Doing things like giving flexible, unlimited PTO.
Yep.
We do profit sharing. So
that is kind of they're part of the success of it then.
Exactly. So it's not actually given equity, but with profit sharing, you're part of the success, and you're part of also, like, if things aren't going so well, or maybe you're spending money on growth and there's not as much profit, whatever it is, when you start getting everyone else on your team to kind of see the business through the same lens that you're looking through. And that was meaningful for me, because entrepreneurship can be a very lonely thing.
So lonely. I'm glad you said that, because it is.
You feel like sometimes you're on an island, but when you bring your team into the journey with you and everyone's kind of looking at it through the same perspective, you don't feel
alone.
You don't feel alone. You feel a lot more confident that your team is on the same page with you, and they're people that you can talk to about your business in the same way you think about it.
I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of founders that I've talked to, and I'm like, well, what are you doing for your team to make them want to be with you? Because they have a revolving door issue in their business. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I treat them well and give them flexible PTO, this and that. So they're all trying to match those things with what you said, as far as profit share, making them feel part of it or part of the journey and have a say and have a voice. It's not that hard to do. And honestly, you make more money and you have more success, and you actually have more tenure with your team if they feel part of it, if you treat them that way. So it kind of pays for itself, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And it also just makes your life easier.
A lot easier and more fun. Because like you said, it's lonely.
everyone's having fun. I mean, there's obviously lots of stresses for everyone, but we have been having fun growing the business as well, and we're excited about where we go from here. But
your average tenure too is like 6-7 years. Like it's pretty crazy.
It's a lot. Yeah, I've had people that are even with me since the Campus Fresh days. So over
holy cow, I didn't know
over
that.
12, 14 years.
And that doesn't just happen. I mean, you got to find people that actually believe in you, right? Yeah. The founder, the leader.
Well, and I don't take that lightly.
No,
and that's when we went into this this partnership with Savory. That was a big reason why we did it, was because first and foremost, I wanted to make sure I wasn't selling out to my team, and I was finding a partner that, I always told them, like, if we go out and raise money, it's going to be with the right group. Because you hear so many horror stories about things that go bad after you raise money.
Oh yeah,
with the wrong partner. So,
well, I've been part of those, right? Like it's just an entrepreneur where it's like it's the wrong investors and it just doesn't gel, and then you're like, gosh, dang it, why did I do that deal? And if you have a deal like that and you're in a deal like that, it's probably best to figure out a way out of those, because life is too short. And it's going to probably get worse before it gets better. So taking your time to be very methodical about what's important to you and not just money, especially if you're going to continue to be part of it.
Yeah.
Because you didn't sell Savory the majority or the totality of your business. I mean, you sold a large portion of it, but you didn't sell out. Like you have a significant portion still.
Yeah.
So you're motivated by the future.
Motivated by the future, not only for the amount of equity I still have in the company, but also it's my baby, right?
Yeah.
And also the people that believed in me, I wanted to succeed for them.
Yeah.
Right. I want South Block. For me, the accomplishment of South Block is the lives that it can make better from the people that believed in me and the company enough to join the company, to invest in the company. I want that to be the best decision that they ever made in their life. And I feel like I have a huge obligation to them for putting that trust in me.
Yeah, it's not something you can fake. I got to be honest with you, Amir. When I had met with you and you told me kind of what you stand for, what you're trying to create as culture, and then I would talk to different people in the team, they resonated that, right? Like it's not something you just say, you actually live it and you do it. And I would say that that's probably the advice for any listener that's a founder's. Don't just have an idea of it or have a vision or put it up on the wall. This is what we believe. None of that matters if you have it all put down in your notes and on the wall. You have to live it.
Yeah.
And the people have to feel it and then buy into that, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, if it's not natural or authentic, I can tell you right now, Savory can feel it when we're investigating and doing diligence on brands.
Yeah.
We felt it with you guys immediately. Like what he's saying is actually happening. And because of that, that was why you were successful. People are saying, well, that whole industry, there's a lot of different competitors in that. Why South Block? I'm like, I could list off 50 reasons why I was all for it. Like I didn't have any doubts after I met with you, I tried the product, came back and met with the team. I'm like, I don't care what we have to do. We're doing that deal.
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt.
It's hard. You got to hit on all cylinders. Like business is not one or two things. It's a lot of different things, including the numbers part of it. You got to make sure that works.
I doubted at the time. I thought that you might have like hired actors to be put like in all of the different shops when we walk through. I'm like, why is it feels like so perfect?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
But the product you mentioned, I think PBJ Bowl was the one that
you remember.
Won
That's
you over.
I left and I'm like, I need a PBJ Bowl like 3 or 4 times a week, like right now. But there's not anything like that around here. And someone has something that's a little bit of a knockoff. I try to, I'm like, it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Well, that is something we're proud about as a differentiator. Like I said, I opened my first juice bar in 2004. I got introduced to acai bowls in 2005. This surfer dude came walking into the juice bar and he had like a little cooler full of stuff. It was acai. I didn't know what it was. And he's like, hey, can I make you something? And I was like, sure. And I let him jump behind the counter and he made me my first acai bowl. This was almost 20 years ago. And I tasted it, and it was, for me, the best thing I ever tasted in my life. I'm like, what is this stuff?
Yeah.
How do I get it? So I started importing it overnight and put it on the menu. I had one bowl on the menu.
I didn't know that.
And only because I loved it. And I'm like, other people are going to love this. I never heard of it before. I don't think my customers have never heard of it before. When they
were calling it acai probably at first, right?
I mean, people still do that. So we're here to try to help people learn the correct pronunciation, acai. So put it on my menu and I would sell maybe 5 a day. Like no one cared.
Nobody loves it as much as I do.
And so, but I'm like, I'm going to share this love for this product because it's amazing. And then when I opened South Block in 2011, I made half the menu acai bowls. I'm like, I'm going to go all in on this because I love it. And I need to introduce it to everyone who comes in and show them why it's amazing.
So you were the grandfather of acai for that area.
I think I might have been the first on the East Coast to, I mean, I don't have like proof of this, but I might have been the first on the East Coast to introduce acai
At least
bowls.
on the South Block.
For sure on the South Block and DC area. But, but we make the acai bowls the same exact way that I learned from that surfer dude. Because to me, that's the authentic way to make acai bowls.
We need to go find that surfer dude.
No shortcuts.
Thank him somehow.
We need to find that surfer dude. I don't know. He's probably on a beach somewhere.
Yeah,
like,
probably
just
loving life. Loving life.
Eating acai bowls. And that's what you should be doing.
Getting drunk on acai.
But we make it. And over the years, there's been so many iterations of shortcuts for acai, whether you're using powders or liquids or sorbet is a big one now. People are scooping it out of a tub, putting toppings on. To me, that just dilutes the product so much. Anyone can literally scoop acai and put it in a bowl and put toppings on it. All of our recipes are curated and developed over the years, and they're all blended with either nut milks or juices and other fruits and vegetables with the acai. So there's no shortcuts. And it's what differentiates us. When people come in, they can tell the difference. They might not know exactly what it is, but you can taste and tell the difference.
You can. The one thing I could tell when I was doing it or trying the different products is that it didn't just taste so sweet and sugary and over the top fake.
Yeah.
It's not like a smoothie you'd make at home by putting a bunch of crap in there and sugar.
Yeah.
Like it's healthy too. And the thing is most people don't say, well, I want to go start eating healthy today and then sticking with it. I really like that you've really developed the better for you category for that to say, this is for anybody. If you're not like a gym person or if you're not a yoga person, you can still eat this every day and you'll enjoy the flavor and you're eating better.
Well, that's another reason why I wanted to name it South Block was because I wanted it to be authentic to who I am, right? And I'm not a vegetarian or vegan. I wasn't, I've gotten into yoga more over the years. But at the time I wasn't, I wouldn't describe myself as that or, I would, and I still do like eat burgers and pizza and all this stuff. I'm like a regular
American
dude, right? But I always loved fruits and vegetables. And so I felt like a lot of the juice bars were like very intimidating to go into.
They are.
They felt like you had to be a certain thing or off the cover of a Cosmopolitan magazine or something to feel like you belonged. It felt very cosmetic,
It did.
And I wanted it to feel like, okay, if I'm a group of guys going to get a burger and I pass South Block, I could walk in there and get a smoothie or acai
You still look
bowl.
cool.
And I feel like it's for me.
It's inviting
like,
still.
It still feels like it's for me. And whether I'm a mom with kids, high school kid, college kid, whatever you are, if you're vegetarian, vegan, whatever you are, South Block, I want it to feel like it's home for you.
Yeah. Well, you knocked that out of the park. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm being serious.
Thank you.
Where did the U-Rock come from?
Oh, the U-Rock. So there's this book I read called Building a Story Brand. It's a great book by Donald Miller. And it really completely changed a lot of the ways we thought about marketing and branding. And we were already doing a lot of it, but I didn't know what we were doing. But the whole philosophy around U-Rock and branding that speaks right to your guest, who we call our hero, right? Because you wake up every day in your own movie. I wake up in my own movie. I'm the star of my movie. You're the star of your movie.
Yes, I do.
And you wake up. Well, it's you. Every person is the star of their own movie, right? And when you go around, whether consciously or subconsciously, you're looking for messages that speak to you as the hero. They're going to help you accomplish your goal in life or your goal for that moment or day. So whether consciously or subconsciously, you're looking for these messages that are like, oh, that's going to get me closer to accomplishing my goal. That's speaking to me as the hero, right? So I think a lot of brands, they make the mistake of making themselves the hero and talking about why they are awesome, why they rock, instead of talking about what's going to help your hero in their story accomplish their goal.
Oh, that's very cool.
So our role is to be the mentor that helps their hero accomplish their goal. And for each business, the goal might be something different for their hero. For us, we feel like our guests' goal is to feel more awesome.
Feel great. Yeah.
And so how can we help make them feel more awesome for that day, that moment, their life, whatever it is? So it could be just the vibe you get when you're walking in, the food you're eating maybe makes you feel more awesome. The message on my hat, "You rock," maybe makes you feel more awesome. Believe in yourself, all these positive sayings that we have on the wall. Like, what are things that we can do? Like, when you come to visit South Block, you're going to walk out just feeling a little bit more awesome than when you
and even if
in.
it's subconsciously, right? Like, if you look at your hat and your statement that I see in your stores too, when you say, "Hey, you rock," or "believe in yourself,"
yeah,
it's in the back of your head, but you're like, I think I do rock today. I'm feeling like I rock pretty good right now.
And people care more about that than if I sit there for 5 minutes and tell you why our smoothies are so awesome or why South Block is so awesome. Like, you might care a little bit, but if I talk to you about how, if I'm talking about my super green smoothie, right? And I'm like, "Oh, this is the best green smoothie you can get in the whole area because we use the freshest kale and we use the top quality fruit and things like that." People are like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of interesting." But if I say, "Oh no, this super green smoothie is awesome because when you drink it, you're going to have a lot more energy. You're going to feel great." Like, okay, I want that.
Yeah, that's right. That's a better sales tactic anyway. I'd probably respond to that one too. So let me ask you this. As a founder of brands, there's times where you kind of get distracted by, what you see in the periphery, right? We're all focused. We know what we want to do, but it's hard not to, I don't know if it's compare. I think comparison is the thief of joy, number one, because then we start thinking about the others and then we're like distracted by it and then we're kind of disgruntled about it and then you're not as happy. Yeah. So I always say don't compare, don't look at the people around you, but you had to have, right? You have a lot of people in this segment and people say, "Oh, it's so competitive in the food and beverage industry." I think it's the dumbest statement I've ever heard. I was in tech for 11 years. There was so much competition in tech.
Yeah.
But you would come up with a new shoe, and it's like, this is going to be the best shoe. There's so many shoe manufacturers. I just think it's funny that we live in this industry with so many misperceptions and misconceptions.
Yeah.
But the thing is that there is competition out there for all of us, right? So if you have a burger concept, there's going to be a lot of burger concepts out there around you. So there is competition. In your segment of acai, smoothies, juices, toasts, there is competition. Mm-hmm. You have exceeded expectations, I think, for most people of what they can do in that segment. Can you point to the reasons why, one or two reasons why you think that you've excelled so much better? Is it because of not cutting corners and using the freshest quality products?
Yeah.
Is it staying true to the authentic self of what Amir wanted to create? Is it those two things you think? Am I nailing that right?
Well, I think it's that. I think it's listening to your guests.
That's a great one.
Yeah, and like
sometimes you think you know better than them. You should just listen to them.
Yeah, what are they looking for? What are they gravitating towards? What's out there in the world that maybe, like, I pay a lot of attention to what's going on, like what's the new ingredient and there's been a lot of new superfood ingredients, things like that. Some of them work, some of them don't. So kind of understanding which ones are really picking up traction and trying to be one of the first to market with that and introduce it to people. But yeah, I mean, quality of product and culture. I think, as far as competition goes, like, you got to pay attention to what other people are doing. And yeah, you draw a lot of inspiration sometimes too from what other people are doing, a lot of ideas. But the way I look at it is, you can never, as a business, try to be somebody else. You need to be your thing. You need to carve out your own niche, and you need to do it as best as you can. And that's all you can really control and focus on, and let the others do what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Don't get distracted.
Don't get distracted by it, but learn from it.
Sure.
But do your thing the best that you can. And, and kind of create this world of, like, we're on an island by ourselves doing what we do best we can. And hopefully customers will love it.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of brands that I watch that grow, they do a great job. And then they almost panic a little bit. They look around to the sides of others and I like how you say drawing inspiration, I do as well, all the time. I'm looking at people that are doing things better than Savory. I'm like, that's a really good idea. Thank you for the inspiration. Let's try it ourselves.
Yeah.
But once you start looking at things, I'm going to copy them or do what they're doing exactly.
Yeah.
You start getting distracted from what you actually were. And so you start seeing brands, and I'm sure you've seen it too, Amir, where you're like, wait a second, you were serving cookies and now you're selling drinks, or you're selling drinks and now you're like, your whole product line's Rice Krispies. It's like, stop.
Right.
Like, be who you are and be the best at it.
Be who you are, yeah.
Because if you think about some of the bigger brands too, which we've all gone into, and listen, I think the Panera story is amazing, but I don't know if you've gone into a Panera lately. I go into Panera, I'm like, wait a second, I can get like so many wacko foods in there now. Yeah. It's not like a bakery and cafe. It's just like an American grill.
Well, that's a good point. You can't be everything to everyone.
No.
And in fact, early on, we used to sell. We had a larger menu. We did wraps and paninis and bowls and coffee and all these things.
And you simplified from there.
We simplified. Again, listened to our customers, looked at what people were loving about us, and really focused in on that stuff and went all in. And I think also picking out real estate. There's no need to open across the street from the guy that's also doing what you're doing.
No.
Like find an area where in a community that would appreciate and needs what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that respect, especially the respect of others too. There's a group here that I know, and the founder does a great job. He's got, I think, 20 something or 30 something units, and he's in the smoothie acai business. Saw the transaction happen. He sent me the message and said, "Congratulations. Looks like an amazing brand. So inspired." He was, whatever he said, "Congratulations. Very impressive." Mm-hmm. That's what you want, right? Like you want to encourage others to do well. We can't be one company that serves everybody on the planet. There's enough room for all of us.
Oh, I love seeing other acai juice places growing. It just more proves the concept, right?
Yeah.
And it also introduces the product to more people.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too that you've been doing it for so long, because there's a lot of people, even within Savory, our LPs, they say, when do you know something's a fad? And I think, a fad is something in my mind that you're just not going to be habitually eating. Mm-hmm. I always say it's habitual or not. And if you think about a drink, you and I are going to drink something every single day, right? Mm-hmm. We have to. We got to drink something. That's habitual. We're going to go eat something today, right? And by the way, we're going to eat something after this together. We have to. Yeah. So
good. I'm starving. So
yeah. So am I. So when you're in the food business, you're always starving. But you're going to go and you're going to habitually eat something, whether it's a burger, a pizza, whatever, like we were talking about. But if it's something like ice cream or if it's yogurt or whatever else, you got to be careful with those because it's not habitual. I don't have to do that today or this week or this month. I'll choose to do it on a date or occasionally or whatever. So I'd always tell all founders on that, don't just anchor to just one thing because you could be in that fad range. Acai, I think early on was kind of like, it's probably going to be a fad. And it's intriguing to me that it's not only been around for 20 years, like you said, but you've been serving it for 13 years and it's only growing. When we were looking at doing the transaction with you, Amir, we looked at the industry and it's a growing segment. People would be like, isn't that kind of past its time? Like, no, I think it's early on and it's gaining traction, which is one of the reasons why we're leaning into it with you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been in the fad trend business for 20 years. That's
and you're breaking fads left and right, man.
That's what I've heard. Oh, it's a fad, it's a trend. But no, we're in the cleaner eating, better for you category, and that's one of the cool things about South Block too is our ability to like kind of pivot and the menu. I don't think cleaner for you eating is just going to keep growing, and we're going to be there as a brand at South Block at the forefront of the kind of clean eating, better for you food.
Well, I believe you already are, just so you know.
We're there, but I'm just saying, like, we have the ability also to adapt and pivot and do new things and exciting things, and there's always going to be things you can do in that space. There's been in my space too. There's been a lot of brands that have come and gone as well. But there's still it's still very much growing. I think the ones that have come and gone have just misstepped or maybe haven't had as much of a good quality. So I think, again, if we continue to focus on the quality of the product, people, culture, the experience of the guests, like that's what's going to keep us growing and keep us relevant.
I would say that is the message right there. I'll make sure that everybody at Savory listens and puts it on repeat. If we can just stick to these things so that nobody ever tilts you off, I think that you as the leader, you'll keep us on track. We're excited to support you on that. We just went through a transaction. I want you to just tell all the entrepreneurs out there what to expect to go through it and just be more high level. The specifics is more private to you and your team. But what would you say overall, just a transaction, how it feels? Because I've gone through many. Yeah. This one took a long time too. I mean, we dated I always tell people we dated a long time to get to know each other, which is important. But
it is. It's like a marriage.
It's a marriage. Yeah. We're married now.
We are.
Yeah. Don't tell our wives.
When am I getting my ring?
Yeah, that's right. But no, how would you say to a founder, like, just be ready to expect this? What are some things that you'd say from your side?
Yeah, no, for me, that journey was about a year and a half. So first of all, make sure you have all your ducks in a row.
Yes.
Make sure you're
I would say get your house in order.
Get your house in order. We luckily already did, but if you're thinking about starting a process, have a good team around you, professional team,
Yep.
Legal, accounting, make sure you have all of your back house in order, before you go out and start the process. You got to know your numbers and just be ready, for the diligence process.
Do you think that it's hard to be critiqued, right?
Yeah.
Too, like in the diligence process, people kind of point out the hair or the flaws.
Yeah.
And they put a lot of light on it. That's hard, right? Like I felt like it was hard as a founder where it's like, why aren't you looking at all just the good things?
Yeah.
And then they focus on just a couple of the bad things. You're like, stop looking at those. Every business has got bad things.
Right.
Did it ever feel that way? Not even with us, but just other groups? Or
it honestly didn't.
Because you didn't have any hair on your business.
I mean, I don't want to say we didn't, but I don't think that was ever the focus to where
it's not normal to be so perfect like South Block was. Just so you guys all know out
we're
there.
Definitely not perfect.
Yeah, no.
But
it looked pretty good.
No, it was fun, man. It was a lot of work for sure. It was a big education, but it was exciting and it was a lot of fun. I'm happy that to have closed on the deal.
Yeah.
And that was an exciting moment. For me, like I've always I think a lot about the future. I am futuristic, but also I don't let myself get too excited. I know we have that in common as a strength. But I also don't let myself get too excited about what could happen until it actually happens.
Yeah. You're a lot like Shauna, by the way, because I'm like, oh, this is going to happen. It's going to close in like 3 weeks. She goes, as soon as I see it right here, or I see the wire come in from that transaction or whatever, then I'll believe you, Andrew. I'm like, oh man, rain on my parade, Shauna.
I don't know if you remember this,
but it's real.
Andrew,
it's true.
In one of our meetings in DC, you guys had a projection sheet up on the screen that showed, if we grow to this much, this is what our revenue and EBITDA looks like. And I'm sitting there kind of with a straight face, not smiling or anything. You're like, doesn't that excite you? I'm like, yeah. Well, normally people are smiling.
Yeah, I was like, what's wrong with him?
I'm
this is super exciting.
And I said, well, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. All right. So when it does happen, I want lots of smiles.
Now
Matt.
we're here to make it happen.
Okay.
No, but that's what happened on February 1st, the day we started our partnership together. I let it sink in.
You smiled.
And I smiled.
You actually sent me a picture with a smile with you and your wife. You guys were at breakfast celebrating.
I actually do a lot of smiling.
Okay,
like
good.
people make fun of me for the. Actually, in elementary school, I used to get made fun of for smiling too much, and that's true. And
who the hell gets made fun of for smiling?
Yeah, why
awesome?
Why are you always smiling so much? I'm like, I don't know. It's just
because
my face. So I do smile. I do smile. But no, I think it's important too to take time to appreciate those moments. There's so much stress, and you're so always on the move. Take a second to appreciate where you are and appreciate what you've accomplished, and appreciate the hard times too that got you to where you're at, and also recognize that there's going to continue to be challenges, but it's got to be in your blood. So
let me ask you this, after I tell you how I feel when something happens that you look forward to, a goal, a transaction with your business, an exit, you set a goal and you finally get that wire and you're like, yes, I rung the bell and I made some money. And it's interesting when people ask me like, well, how does it feel? And I'm like, it's actually kind of anticlimactic. I'm not trying to not inspire people here. I want every founder to feel like inspired to go for it. But for me, I always felt like it was like, yay. And then like a day later, it's like, yay. And then the day later, you're like, yay. Like it kind of just felt anticlimactic for me.
Yeah.
Like the whole journey was cool to go through it. And you learned a lot going through it. But then you do it and you're like, okay. And it's not a secret. You've got millions of dollars in your bank now. And you're like, nothing's changed. Like you still wake up.
That part of it is true. And for me, it was, of course, like when you're building a business, like you want it to be successful. You want to have, certain financial freedom for you and your family. And that's a big deal. But for me, like the bigger deal was that there was people that actually believed in me and my business enough to make an investment from when I first started to that guy saying we'd never make it. And from me opening my second juice bar and telling my wife, like, if this makes it, this is all we need, we'll be good. And then, to here we are today. So it's kind of just like that, it's to me, like you said, it's not the money. It's more of like wow, like I can't believe we're here as a business and that people actually like are willing to invest in what we've created.
Yeah. You almost kind of have that second of like, wow, it worked. Like you're a little bit surprised. I know I was like, holy crap, that really worked.
Well, there's always that
like
imposter system syndrome, right?
For sure. You're like, maybe I should, I'm not one of those guys. Right?
Yeah.
But then I also feel like when you had said, that it feels like now you have to re-up. Like you've re-upped and you're excited about the future and you feel like the same pressures of business now today as you did the day before the transaction closed.
Yeah, none of that changes. Yep.
Nothing changes. You wake up and you're like, well, if my kid's having a hard time at school or with friends or whatever, that doesn't go away. My wife and my relationship is the same. And
right.
So I think the drive is good. Transaction's great. I think the comfort of wealth it's valiant, like to want to have some security for your family. But it really is anticlimactic because everything else is still there when you wake up. And I just want to make sure founders hear that.
Yeah. And like I said, it has to be in your blood. And like for me, like I didn't want the transaction to change my life in a way that would make me less busy and more bored, because I still want to be busy and I don't want to be bored. So me and my team are just excited about, going from here. We're excited about, we're at 15 locations. We got 5 coming this year. So we'll be at 20. We're excited. We're kind of looking at that like 15 to 50 location thing. And then from there, we keep going.
The world is our oyster, right?
And from there we keep going.
And our strategy is to keep them corporate owned for now, right? We're going to do them all within kind of our control, our stable.
Yep.
Franchising is on the table. We've talked about that before.
Yep.
But as far as where we're going to grow, where are we going to grow so that the listeners can also know where they can see a South Block maybe popping up? We've been talking about the Virginia area more. We're thinking about Maryland, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
North Carolina.
We're all of our locations right now in the DMV.
So Maryland,
DC,
for sure.
Virginia, and we have one in Maryland that we just opened a couple years ago. The next 5 we have coming up are in the DC area. We got one coming up in Dulles Airport that's really
which
exciting.
Is awesome. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, our first airport location. So we're branching out. There's a lot of growth opportunities still in the DMV, but we're excited about new markets. We're looking at possibly North Carolina. I think there's opportunities up and down the East Coast that we're looking at. But I think it's important for us to really nail that second market. So we don't want to be too far from home with it. So we can really make sure we're doing everything we can to be a part of that community and to introduce South Block in the right way. So we're still trying to identify, but it's going to be somewhere on the East Coast and maybe Richmond, Charlottesville. I think there's some opportunities there, but
I think that a lot of founders, they do it the wrong way, where they think that if I spread out, if I go from the DMV area, which is a cool area, I love it. I'm going to run down to Atlanta, and then I'm going to go over to Dallas, and then I'm going to go over to Chicago. And if they spread themselves out, it's hard to support. So it's a good thing to say, I think we're going to stay close to home and just continue to build our community, one block at a time, kind of out from where our heritage market is. Yep. That's a smart way to do it and kind of control our northeastern states. So we should be up there and hopefully in some Boston areas. That'd be kind of fun too, right?
Yeah,
that would be kind of cool.
We'll see where we go. I mean, it's gonna be fun though.
It's gonna be awesome. The one thing that I would say is the most exciting is to work with you. There's something that we've learned over the years, and that is brands that are emerging. And it's crazy that you're kind of in that stable of emerging brands. When you're like emerging, I've been around for 20 years, but you still feel like you're emerging.
Oh,
right?
I love it, man. Like when people like are just discovering us and like we're the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
Like that's great. I want that forever.
Always, right? They want to go, I've never heard of this. Is this new? Yes, it's new. Right?
Yeah. My dad's video store was there for like almost 20 years, and people would come in. Did you guys just open?
Yep, we did.
You always want people discovering you. You always want to be the new. The longer you can be like the new hot thing, the better.
Oh, for sure. It doesn't matter
how long, and that's hard to do over.
No, it's so hard to
decades,
do.
Right?
But we were excited though, because there's a lot of founders that say, I think I'm just tired and I want to sell this, and we're like, that is not what we're involved in. We want to be involved in an emerging brand, founder led. They still have vigor in them, excitement, grit, and we want to get behind those founders. And we've always said that Savory is a founder-led, Savory supported organization, and we're excited to support South Block and its endeavors to be all over the Northeast here over the next coming years. And more than anything, I'm just excited about the journey to be doing it with you. I know that I speak for Savory and the Savory team, Shauna and her whole ops team that will get behind you and the team too. For myself, for my partner Greg, for Taylor, for all the team that worked behind you, as well as Caitlin. We were so excited to get this done.
Yeah.
Wish it would happen a little sooner, but it's crazy how much legal and things get in the way that make it just feel like it drags through.
It's a marathon,
it's
not a sprint,
marathon,
right?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
But we're glad we got it across the finish line too.
Yeah.
More than anything, I'm excited to be your partner. So thanks for partnering with Savory.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be your partner as well. And like you said, it's about the journey, and that's why we were excited to partner with you guys, because we know it's going to be an awesome journey. So we're looking forward to it.
Good. And before we end up here, first and foremost, when we go to lunch, you're buying. I'm not buying. So I'm just kidding. I'll buy for you. No, but I was going to say, if you're not eating at South Block, what's your favorite food? Like, what are you eating?
Oh, man.
Like, just to the top of the list. What is it?
Well, I really am. I would consider myself a foodie, you know. I love going out, discovering new places. Like, I love a good cappuccino.
Okay.
I love a good pizza when I can find like a good.
I'm a pizza snob, man.
Pizza,
we're gonna be just
snob.
fine.
That's the thing. I'm a snob about that stuff too.
Okay, good.
Good burger.
We should go have a Via 313 then. That's what we should have.
We should have Via.
Well,
I'm out here in Salt Lake, so got to do it. My dad's Persian, so I love Persian food.
Awesome.
That's kind of, feels like home for me. So
okay, and then the last question is, what are you going to buy for yourself, though? You've worked all these years. What you got to have one thing in the stable. You're like, I just want to go buy this. It doesn't matter the amount of price. It could be, I'm going to go buy a cool watch. It's going to be, I'm going to buy some new sneakers. What's the indulgence that you're going to go buy?
That's actually, that's what I've been thinking about, man. Like
it's broken. I'm like, I don't need anything.
I did it. Like, I don't know. I got a Jeep. I love my Jeep. Oh, that's good. We're going to do like a little bit of renovation on the house, probably, do something to the deck and the bathroom. But, I started thinking about, I was like, maybe I need to have more hobbies where I want to buy myself something.
I hear that all the time, dude. Founders are like, I got to get hobbies, man. I don't even know what to do with my money now. It's like, yeah, it's a problem. Yeah. So it's very normal. Well, go find some hobbies, spend some money on yourself, save most of it.
I'll let you know what it is, or maybe I'll get some ideas from you while I'm out here.
I don't need anything either. I don't even know what to tell you to buy. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining.